Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do the I-cord edging for 2-color brioche. I've posted the link for the I-cord edging on 1-color brioche in the description field, so feel free to check that out. But if you're familiar with 2-color brioche and want to know how to do an I-cord edge for that, this is the video for that. I previously knit a similar I-cord edge for the fisherman's rib scarf. It's quite similar, the look of the I-cord edging that comes out. It looks very similar on one edge. On the other edge, it's slightly different looking, and I'll mention the reason for it in the later part of the video. But all in all, I still think it looks really pretty and has almost a reversible feel to it. You can see the edging looks almost similar on both sides. For the brioche stitch, 2-color brioche, you do need double pointed needles, and I've cast on an even number of stitches plus 3 stitches on either end. The 3 stitches on either end are going to make up the brioche stitch, or rather the I-cord stitch. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm going to go ahead and cast on a couple more stitches. I'm using the long tail cast on. You can use any cast on of your choice. And let's see, 14 or 15 and 16. All right, so I've cast on 16 stitches here. The 3 stitches are going to make up my edge brioche stitches. Now brioche, the 2-color brioche is knit, there's a setup row, and then there's a 4-row pattern repeat. You've cast on your stitches, don't turn your work. Actually slide your stitches to the other end, because we're going to do our setup row with the second yarn. So you want to designate your 2 colors as color A and B, or main color and contrasting color, whichever way you do it. Know that and keep that in mind. So I'm going to call this, for this demo and in the pattern, I'm calling this orange one color A. That's my main color, and I'm going to call this one color B, this brown shade. That's my contrasting color. So I've cast on the stitches with the main color, and now I'm going to do the setup row in this contrasting color. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to join the yarn. Just a loop like that, you're going to join it, knit 1. Then you're going to bring the yarn to the front. Make sure you have the working end of the yarn. Slip, so insert as if to slip and just bring the stitch over, and then take the yarn back and then knit. So those are your first 3 stitches. That's going to make up the I-cord edge. All right. Now we're going to do the brioche setup row all the way to the last 3 stitches. So for the brioche setup row, we're going to do knit 1. And then slip 1 with the yarn forward. What that means is you're going to bring the yarn to the front and you're going to slip the next stitch without doing anything to it. The yarn stays in the front because as we do that repeat, we're going to create that brioche stitch, right? That double stitch. So here we go. Knit 1, bring the yarn to the front and slip. Knit 1, yarn to the front, slip. Knit 1. And one more time. Keep doing this till you get to the last 3 stitches. For the last 3 stitches, you're going to do the same thing as the first 3 stitches. The yarn is in the front at this point. You want to leave it in the front because as you take it back to knit the stitch, you're going to create that last brioche stitch. So knit 1, yarn to the front, slip 1, yarn to the back, knit 1. And I'm going to now you turn your work. So one point in 2-color brioche to know when to turn your work is when both your working yarns are at the same end. That's when you know it's time to turn the work. We just knit with the setup row with color B. Now we're going to go back to color A. So each row is knit with the alternating color. So row 1, we're going to slip the first stitch, insert as if to purl without doing anything. I'm going to bring the yarn over. Now I'm going to take this and take the yarn to the back. Then I'm going to knit, bring the yarn to the front, and then I'm going to slip. Now you take the yarn to the back and we do a bark. So that's a brioche knit. So you're going to insert your needle as if to knit and knit both of those stitches together. In brioche, we consider that one stitch. That's the brioche stitch, and we're doing a brioche knit. So that's a bark, right? So that's the pattern repeat. It's a bark, and then slip 1 with the yarn forward. So bring the yarn to the front and slip. And you're going to do that pattern repeat all the way to the last 3 stitches. So here we go. Bark, again, the yarn is in the front at this point. You want to leave it in the front so that you create that brioche stitch for the next row. So bark and slip and bark and slip and bark, slip, one more time, bark and slip. I've come to the last 3 stitches. For the last 3 stitches, I am going to, I need to do a slip, knit, slip, but I need to bring the yarn to the front. Now you'll say, well, the yarn is already in the front. Why not just leave it in the front? If we do that, then we're not creating that brioche stitch that we need to create for this last stitch. So for this last stitch, you have to take the yarn all the way around and then you slip. So you're going to bring the yarn forward by doing this, then slip, take the yarn back, knit, and bring the yarn front and slip. So you just have to remember that for this row. Now my yarn is at this end, this yarn is at this end, which means I don't turn my work. I actually slide the stitches to the other end. And now we're going to work the same row again with this second yarn, with our color B. And the first 3 stitches and last 3 stitches, they're the same as we just did for this row. We're doing the slip, knit, slip, right? So here we go. This time I just have this yarn left here. I'm going to slip it. Then we'll take the yarn to the back, knit it. Oh, split the stitch there. All right, take the yarn to the front and slip. Ideally, we would have taken the yarn back here, okay, with the correct I-cord edge. Unfortunately, with brioche pattern, this next stitch, I need to do a yarn over. And to do the yarn over, I need the yarn in the front. So this is why that one edge comes out a little bit different than the other I-cord edge. You're gonna slip. With the yarn in the front, you're going to slip. Now you're going to have to bring the yarn over to do the next stitch, which is a brioche purl or a burp, BRP, right? Here's the brioche stitch, and we're going to do a brioche purl. Okay, so in this row, when you slip with the yarn in the front, at the end of your brioche purl, your yarn is in the front anyways. So you're just going to slip it, but remember to take the yarn all the way around to do the brioche purl, because otherwise you're not going to get your brioche stitch for the next row. So here we go, brioche purl. Slip with the yarn in the front, take the yarn all the way around and do a brioche purl. This is why in the pattern you'll see me say slip 1 with yarn in the front / yarn over, okay? And brioche purl and slip 1 with yarn in the front, yarn over and brioche purl. Now for these last 3 stitches, now our yarn is in the front. For this stitch, we're going to slip, take the yarn to the back, knit, bring the yarn to the front and slip. And now both my working yarns are at this end, which means I have to turn the work. And you'll notice that both my working yarns are actually between these first 2 stitches, which is where we want them. We're going to turn our work and do row 3. I'm going to take this color B, put it to the back this way, and that way bring my color A out and work with that. All right. And that'll just give you a neater edge. For row 3, the pattern will tell you to knit 1, bring the yarn to the front, slip, take it to the back, and knit. Okay, now we do a slip 1 with yarn in the front and a burp. Again, that's the pattern repeat for the brioche stitch. So we're going to bring the yarn to the front, slip this, but because we have a burp, we have to bring the yarn all the way around to do the burp. So this one will also say in the pattern, slip 1 with yarn in the front, yarn over, and then burp. And the last repeat, slip 1 with yarn in the front, take the yarn over, and brioche purl or burp. The last 3 stitches, we're going to do a knit, a slip, a knit. To do the knit, I'm going to take the yarn to the back and do a knit, yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit. Have to slide the stitches to the other end, and now do the same row all the way across with color B. This is row 4, so the pattern is knit 1, bring the yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit. And now we have to, our pattern repeat for the brioche stitch is a bark and a slip 1 with yarn in the front. So our yarn is already in the back here. We're going to do a knit, or a bark rather, a brioche knit, yarn to the front, slip. Keep the yarn in the front at this point, don't take it to the back because we need that brioche stitch, right? So brioche knit, yarn to the front, slip, bark, slip, bark, slip, and one more time, bark and slip. And that brings us to the last 3 stitches. For the last 3 stitches, again, remember yarn is in the front. We want it in the front. We're going to create that last brioche stitch, and we're going to do our usual knit, yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit. And that's helping create our I-cord edge. And both my yarns are at the same end, which means it's time to turn the work. And so those are the 4 rows that you're going to repeat. I'm going to show you the next row just to show you the continuity. So now you're going to start again with row 1, which is with your main color. So I'm going to keep this other color over to the side like that, and take the main color, and I'm going to slip the first stitch, right? Yarn to the back, knit, yarn to the front, slip. And now I have to do a brioche knit, which means I have to take the yarn to the back and do a brioche knit, yarn to the front, slip, brioche knit, yarn to the front, slip. And so that's row 1, then you'll do row 2, flip over, row 3, row 4. And so those are the 4 rows that you're going to keep repeating. I recently posted a video on knowing which row you're on when you're doing brioche stitch. That could apply to this as well. When you're putting in an I-cord edge and you want to, know which row you're on, that'll be helpful. So I've provided a link to that as well in the description field if you want to check that out. The one other thing I would suggest that you might want to put a clippy marker on one side, on the side that you're doing the knit, slip, knit, the side that's facing you, that you might want to put a clippy marker there, because then you know that that's the side where the I-cord edge starts curling in this way, right? So on this side it's open, and this side is the back side is where it's kind of curled in inward. So I hope you give this I-cord edge a try the next time you do a brioche project. If you have any ideas, suggestions, comments, leave them for me in the description field. This video wouldn't have come about had the person who commented on that asked about that question, had not asked about it. So thank you so much for asking me questions, for keeping me thinking and trying new things. Really appreciate the support of my channel. Happy knitting!